Hi, and welcome to So Many Things video series. We wanted to share this video series with you from Creative Grids, but we also wanted to add a little bit extra because we had them in the shop to do seminars and they were so awesome. So enjoy the videos and stay tuned for a bonus tip at the end.
Hi, I'm Carla Alexander, and I'm so excited to show you my new ruler, the Spiderweb. I named it that because it creates the old-fashioned block that looks like a spiderweb. So it's always a lot of fun to buy new quilting tools, and it's especially great when they can do more than one thing. Once you see my video, I think you'll agree that this is one of those tools. So to begin with, I want to show you all the shapes that you can cut with the ruler and why it's different from other rulers that look pretty similar. First of all, you can use it to cut 15 different sized triangles, kite shapes, background pieces, and half square triangles. Also a chart with approximate finished block sizes as well as the number of pieces you can cut from a 40-inch strip are packaged with the ruler. This is an enlarged version of the ruler. I wanted to show you a close-up view so you could see the numbers that are printed down the center. You'll notice the numbers are all in sets of 2 each. The top number corresponds with the width of the strip used to cut the triangles from. The bottom number represents the square size you'll need to cut a kite shape from. So for example, if you had a strip width that was 4 inches wide to cut your triangles, you'd find the 4, look at the number right underneath which says 3.5, that's the size of square you're going to need to cut a kite shape from. What I have here is a strip set that equals 4 inches. I've taken 3 different strips and pieced them together to get to that width. So now I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to find the 4-inch measurement on the ruler and align it with the bottom edge of that strip set. The little black triangle will always hang off the opposite end. I'm going to cut on the left-hand side and then on the right-hand side. Lift the ruler up and rotate it 180 degrees. Again, I'm going to find the 4-inch measurement line and align that with the edge of the strip set with the little black triangle hanging off the bottom. And I'm going to continue cutting another triangle. Pick the ruler up, rotate it once again, and you'll continue on like this until you get all the triangles that you need. To cut the kite shapes for these 4-inch triangles, I'll need to locate the 4-inch mark in the center of the ruler. Then find the number directly below it. This is the size I'll need my squares to be cut for the kites. Then I'll place the square under the ruler, lining it up with the placement line. Cut on either side to create the kite. Okay, so here you can see I've cut 2 kites and I've got 4 triangles, and I'll show you how they go together into a block. There's one side of my block. I'll sew that together first. I'll sew the other half together, and then I'll combine the halves together. To cut the background pieces for the floating spiderweb block, double the measurement used to cut the kites. For example, if your kite was 3.5 inches, your background square will be 7. Slice the square in half diagonally from corner to corner, and then fold the pieces together. Take your ruler and place it over the top like this, using the same placement lines used to cut the kites. Slice one side off to create a right and a left background piece. The triangles will fit into each half like this. These background pieces are oversized, and once they're sewed together, they'll be squared up to match the edge of the triangles. The last shape you'll need to know how to cut are for the corner triangles used in this kaleidoscope block. Refer to your ruler to find the correct measurement. In this example, my kaleidoscope triangles were cut from a 5.5-inch wide strip. Locate the 5.5-inch measurement in the center of the ruler and cut a square to the size listed below it. In this example, it would be 4 3/4 inch squares. Cut 2 squares for one block. Slice the squares in half diagonally to yield 4 triangles. Center and sew the triangles to each of the corners of the kaleidoscope block. The triangles are oversized, and after you're done sewing, can be squared even with the edges of the block. One spiderweb block consists of 2 halves, and each half has 2 triangles and 1 kite shape. 4 of these blocks combined make up one complete spiderweb block. Here's another version of the spiderweb block. As you can see, the block down here is continuous, with each corner always beginning a new web. The block up here is called a floating spiderweb. The ruler will cut the background pieces needed to make these blocks. The pieces are oversized and will be trimmed later. Okay, now let's move on to a new block. This block is called a 4-pointed star, and it's made up using the exact same shapes as the spiderweb. The only difference is that the kite shapes are cut from a darker value fabric than the triangles. This emphasizes the star rather than the web. You can also use half-square triangles on the corners to create a floating star. This last block is a kaleidoscope. To make it, you'll need to cut 8 large triangles and 4 small half-square triangles. For this block, I used 4 light value triangles and alternated them with 4 dark. Then I added the 4 corner triangles. The corners are always oversized and are trimmed even with the triangles when the block is complete. This is a quilt I call Tango. I used my stack the deck method to piece the strip sets together. Then I cut my triangles. I used a mix of different gray prints for the background and the kite shapes. Notice the blocks in the perimeter. This is where you'll use the background shapes to stop the spiderweb design. If you have a stash, this would be a great quilt to use it on. Okay, let's take a look at the actual blocks in that quilt. And there's 2 main blocks, as you see right here, and one is a background block and one is a spiderweb block. So the difference is the background block, like the spiderweb block, is divided in half, but it has 1 triangle on each half and a background shape. And the background shapes look like this, and it's sewed together with the triangle, and then the other side is completed, and then they're joined together. To make the spiderweb block, you won't need the background piece. What you'll need instead is, once again, 2 halves, and you have 2 triangles on either side, and each of them are combined together with a kite shape. And that completes that block. Here's a couple table runners I made using the ruler. The one on the top was made using the basic spiderweb block with the kite shapes. Notice how the spiderweb blocks continue into the border, always beginning a new design. Here's a close-up of those blocks, and what you can see is that they're really made up of 4 of the spiderweb blocks, once again split in half diagonally with the 2 triangles and 1 kite shape. The unique fabric for this particular table runner makes it look like a kaleidoscope. The runner on the bottom is a bonus pattern from the quilt Tango and is also made using the basic spiderweb blocks. Notice how choosing a dark fabric for the kite shape makes a star appear. This is the bonus table runner that comes with Tango, and these little pieces are the leftovers. And what I did is I took those triangles and I pieced the kite shape right here like this, and I made 4 of those sections, pieced them together into one block, and made the table runner. Now you can see this block right here really is exactly the same as what is in Tango. It's just all in the way you sew them together. You can get a different look. This quilt's called Junk Jewelry, and it's one of the more simple quilts using the basic spiderweb block. I used a variety of different prints to make the quilt. So here it is, and I'll show you the actual pieces. These are great big blocks, and there's only spider webs. There's no background pieces in there. And you can see that the block is once again divided in half, and each half has 2 triangles and a kite shape. The kite shapes are usually oversized, and when you complete your blocks, you just trim this edge right here even with the outside edge of the triangles. And there you have junk jewelry. I've had so much fun using my new ruler, and I made this quilt up using leftover scraps from another quilt. And you can see that there's always red on one edge and brown on the other, and so the centers are just exactly the opposite. Okay, let's look at another quilt. Here's another quilt I just finished. To make it, I pieced my strip sets with 3 different colors, always using the same width of each, resulting in an equal number of triangles with either a red or black edge. I then pieced light colors together to get this quilt I call Cocoon. This quilt is called Marco Polo and is made up of Kaleidoscope blocks. Each block has 8 triangles and 4 half-square triangles for the corners. Notice how I added dark triangles in the blocks around the perimeter to help begin the border. So here's a close-up of that quilt, and what's kind of cool is you get this circle that goes around what looks like a 4-pointed star right here. But the actual block is right up here, and it's a kaleidoscope block. It's split into 2 halves, and each half has 4 triangles that are sewn together. And then once each half is complete, they're joined together into one block. The half square triangles are added on the corners, and then they're trimmed even with the bottom of the triangles. Here's another fun way to make a block if you're working from your stash. I just chose some fabric with uneven stripes on it, and then you get a block that looks like that. For another example, I loved using this fabric right here with all the different designs on it by Polo Nadelstern, and when you cut that up, you can get some really unique blocks that look like that. You always need to be careful before you sew your corner little triangles on and make sure that you like the contrast. And I kind of like to try them on before I sew to make sure I like what I have. So I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, and I hope you'll stay tuned for part 2.
So here's the bonus tip. Our teacher was teaching us about how to be smart about being scrappy. So we all love to be scrappy, but she gave us the tip, and this made so much sense. Instead of just piling everything into one thing, you know, Christmas fabrics and Civil War fabrics and, you know, small florals and all those kinds of things, keep your scrappies together based on their theme. So keep all your Civil War scrappies together, and keep all your Christmas scrappies together, and keep all your floral scrappies together. Then when it's time to go make your scrappy piece, just choose one of those, and that gives a cohesiveness to the fabric. You get the great effect of the scrappiness, but you don't end up with sort of these oddball fabrics. And let's face it, not all fabrics work together. So we hope you enjoyed this tip.